When I first started making seals, I only used stamps that were circles. And so I did get really good at making circular wax seals. But then I started expanding my collection and I started getting different shapes. I had squares, little rectangles, and longer rectangles like the one that came in your Wax Seal Club box. And because of that, I had to learn different ways to pour the wax to work for these shapes versus just a circular seal. So that's what I want to just give you a few tips about today, is just how to pour your wax to get better seals when you have kind of different shaped stamps than just the regular circle. So the first tip is to pour the wax in the shape of the seal. So I have a few different shapes here. Grab one more. But I would pour the wax. For a square, you can keep it in a circle because it's still gonna come out with rounded edges. Like, you can't make the square look square with the edges on. So the square and the circle, you still pour in a circular shape. But for these longer ones, you have to pour it in a rectangular shape. Or the oval, it has to be more of an oval shape. So let me walk you through how to pour some of these. So for the one that's in the club, the next tip besides pouring it in that shape is I like to have the stamp sitting out. I like to have the stamp sitting out when I pour. The first time I made a seal with this stamp, when I was testing it, it was like this much too short. Like, I didn't pour enough wax long enough because I didn't realize how long it was. So to help me make sure I have enough wax, I'll leave my stamp out for this specific stamp. And then that way when I pour, and I'm just gonna do a line and go back and forth. That way I know it's gonna be long enough. And then I'm gonna go straight from above and press down. Hold and then let go. Let's try a few more. This one, same thing. It's a rectangular shape. So I can just go back and forth. And I'm just kind of squeezing the wax as I'm moving it back and forth. And let's do one more. Let's do an oval. Maybe we'll do the oval and the square. The oval, I do the same thing, back and forth, but the more wax you add, the more oval in shape it gets. So I got a little bit too much wax on that one. It's got a little too much on the edge. Okay, last one, let's do a square. This one can just be in a circle, a circular shape, and then we'll press in. So the last tip with pouring and making seals with these kind of irregular shaped stamps is just that you have to know that they're not going to end up being perfect. So if you're making a square seal, it's not going to look like a square when you're done because the wax comes outside of the impression and rounds. So it's not really going to look like a square. And so I think a lot of people, because the stamp itself is square, think the end result is going to be square, and it's not. And the same thing with the rectangle. Even though it's a rectangular shape, we're still going to have this roundness around the edge. The same with the stamp from your box. It's going to have this roundness kind of as the wax flows out. And so that's something, this one does hold its shape pretty well, that it's still an oval. And the same with the circles, they'll basically hold their shape too. But just know that you can't expect, the wax doesn't work that way. It's not going to stay in a square. So just know that you're going to have rounded corners around the edge when you do it. So those are the 3 tips. Make sure to pour in the shape of your stamp and have your stamp out while you're pouring to help you get the right shape and the right length. And then just know your edges are going to be rounded when you do it. So let me know if you have any questions about making seals with irregular shaped stamps.